Well, Charlotte was obviously much smaller.
I wanted to be a real cop. I mean, this is where the action was, is Charlotte.
We ought to consider consolidating the police force.
No, I didn't, and it's probably personal. Everybody had their own reasons.
We believed that we were better equipped.
There wasn't, cliques that you had to worry about.
We're the best police department in the country, and that was built on foundations of prior chiefs.
I was actually 20 when I came on the police department. I'm Darrell Price. I'm Sergeant with Charlotte-Mecklenburg Police Department. I started January 7th, 1981.
A headhunter contacted me and said, hey, Charlotte's looking for a new chief, and why don't you think about coming down here, and landed in Charlotte. And I have to say that that's probably been one of my best assignments, coming here to Charlotte.
I was born in Charlotte, so I think from childhood age, just seeing the way that police interacted, seeing the way that helped develop the city, the relationships, just the community in which I was growing up in, the schools, the activities, those kind of things as far as helping the community and put back to the community. I wanted to be a part of the community that I came from. Robbins started with the Charlotte Police Department, 1981, joined the Mecklenburg County Police Department, 1983, the two departments consolidated, October 1st, 1993.
I actually fell into the job because I had looked at a lot of different careers, and at the time we were going through some economic issues in the United States, and so I, like many people that lived in this area, applied to both police departments. So at that time we had a Charlotte City Police Department with about 460 officers, and we had Mecklenburg County Police Department, which had about 180 officers. I'm Brian Foley. I originally started with policing in 1992.
I joined Charlotte Police Department on July 7th, 1982. My name is Garry McFadden. I'm currently the 45th Sheriff of Mecklenburg County and the first African-American Sheriff of Mecklenburg County.
My name is Johnny L. Jennings. I'm the Chief of Police, Charlotte-Mecklenburg Police Department. I came on the Charlotte-Mecklenburg Police Department in May of 1992.
I actually started doing this because they got paid every week. And I was a construction worker, so if it rained, we didn't get paid, we didn't work. And my father, he was a police captain here at the time. He started in 1961, but he called me and said, have you ever thought about being a police officer? And I said, no, not really. And he said, well, we get paid every week, and you got benefits, and you have vacation. And I was like, well, that sounds okay.
Well, I didn't choose a career in law enforcement. The city was much smaller. The downtown was a ghost town after 5 p.m. UNC Charlotte just had a few tall buildings that have since been torn down, but it was a great opportunity to really feel like part of the community. That's where I got my start. I got 5 sisters, 2 of which were in Charlotte. They told me I needed to come to UNC Charlotte. I came here, fell in love with the city, been here ever since. I actually started at the county police, their security team. So I'd worked there for a year, and I knew I wasn't going to be a county cop. I wanted to be a real cop. I mean, this is where the action was. It's Charlotte. It's the urban living. It's where you really cut your teeth. It's also you get kicked in the teeth. It's where you really become a true cop. You learn how to do the work. Out there, and I'm not bashing the county, they're just boring and slow, very slow paced. This is really where it was happening, and I wanted to be in the action.
I'm actually from Jefferson City, Tennessee, a small town in East Tennessee, just about 30 miles east of Knoxville. I went to school at Appalachian State, and after I graduated Appalachian State, I was looking for a place to call home at that point, and Charlotte was recommended as an up-and-coming city for young executives, and I made the decision to actually move to Charlotte right after graduating from college with no job. A friend of mine who actually worked at the same company and I went to school with, played football with at Appalachian State, had mentioned, hey, the police department's hiring, let's apply for the police department. And the more I started hearing about the types of opportunities, the jobs within the job, that sparked my interest, and I started becoming excited about the opportunity to be employed with the Charlotte Police Department.
Well, Charlotte was obviously much smaller. The city police department at that time was just over 600. We actually went to the same academy together, and in my academy class there was 20 of us, and there was one county officer in that academy class.
As far as on the county side, one officer was responding to an area which is now what the city calls a district. So mainly, for instance, the area that I had was what they call the 56 zone, University area. One car, I had an area from North Tryon Street all the way over to Albemarle Road by myself, one single person.
They were the county boys who we say kind of policed the donut, the outside of the donut. They got cows out of the road, and we took care of crime. That's pretty much how it was. That's how I tell it anyway.
In 1992, Charlotte was going through a growth phase, and that was evident in how quickly the city was annexing and moving and taking over areas that had been formerly unincorporated areas of the county. You also had the small towns, Davidson, Cornelius, Huntersville, Pineville, Mint Hill, Matthews. All of those towns over the course of about the last 20 years before that had been working towards building their own police departments and managing the law enforcement function through their local governments. The county had for some time provided law enforcement services to much of that area, and Mecklenburg County, even in the 90s, was still very rural. There were huge sections up around Lake Wiley, Lake Norman, and then we also had an agreement with the town of Mint Hill to provide policing services for Mint Hill.
During the patrol years from 82 to 85, I knew a few of the officers who worked patrol because we would actually back them up. After 1990, it became very much a violent city.
That was the year we topped 120 murders. We had Henry Wallace running around all year and a little bit the previous year killing. And there were very few of us in homicide at that time. So we stayed so busy, so terribly busy, that we really didn't have time to even speak to one another. We would basically pass each other in the halls, and we just worked 16-hour day or a 24-hour day, and the new group was coming in. And
Violent crime homicide was a big one, and we were able to work through a lot of issues. I think first year I was here, there were 90, maybe 93 homicides, and over the next several years, it declined down into high 50s, low 60s. Maybe, I don't know, I can't remember if we ever really got into the 50s, but we were close there for several years. And then 2005 or 2006, we had a spike, and violent crime went up again for a while. The huge challenges that we had, other than working through the technology stuff, was managing the growth. Charlotte, it hasn't changed really much, but the growth just overwhelmed you.
Yeah, we had a big situation between the city and county because we had what we called the donut. We had the city of Charlotte, and then which was probably about 260 to 280 square miles. Then we had each of what we used to call the small towns, because at that time there were small towns. And then we had the unincorporated area that was covered by the county police. So we had a separate city police department and a county police department. Dilemma is the county police department was on the outside of the donut, and it made no sense from a service standpoint to get calls to those people in those areas within a sufficient period of time if there was crime activity. And it made no sense from a crime fighting standpoint and also from a cost efficiency standpoint. So the effort began in the early 90s to look at consolidation.
And I'll tell you, it wasn't easy at first. We had guys that would get in arguments over the radio, and the next thing you know, they're meeting behind a warehouse and coming to fists over things, just because people would talk smack and run their mouths, and that was a little frustrating. I tried to keep myself out of that.